I talk about an toric lens. In Japan, everybody is covered by the social insurance system, and even if it is a normal lens or a toric lens, the cost for the patient is the same. So my policy in the cataract surgery is to provide the best treatment for the patient. So if the patient has any indication of the toric lens, I automatically implant the toric lens. As a result, last year I implant 3,700 toric lenses. It was 43% of the total of my cases. And also for the multifocal lens, I have more toric patient than the non-toric patient. In the toric IOL, the alignment of the axis is very important because 1 degree of misalignment will decrease the 3% of the toric effect. If you misalign to 33%, there's no effect of the toric lens. And if you rotate the lens more, you will induce the astigmatism by the toric lens. So to make an axis, if you have the chance to see the patient on the day preoperatively, easiest way is to use a slit lamp. With using the scale on the slit lamp, you can mark the final axis on the patient. You can do it before mydriasis or after mydriasis, but it is more accurate if you perform the marking before mydriasis. When you mark the axis, you can mark the final axis, or you can just make a reference mark 3 and 9 o'clock position. The final axis can be marked using this scale on the slit lamp. If you make a reference mark intraoperatively, you need an intraoperative axis gauge to determine the final axis. The merit of the intraoperative gauge is it can also mark the capsulorhexis, and we can have the very sharp marking on the cornea. If you don't have the chance to see the patient preoperatively on the day of the surgery, you can use this electric toric marker in the operating theater. Conventionally, we use this type of the toric markers with air bubbles, but we cannot concentrate the air bubbles at the same time to the patient eye. And also the accuracy of this device is questionable. So I designed the new toric marker, electric toric marker. Can I have the sound on the video? If the device is horizontally, green light is on, please. And if the device is tilted, beeping sound will be on. So with this device, you can know the horizontal position of the device quite easily from the light and the sound. So with this marker, you can mark the final axis. But in Japan, there are many patients had very narrow lids and small eyes. So using this reference marker is quite easy. Just making a reference mark at 3 and 9 o'clock position, and intraoperatively, I'll mark the final axis. The conventional intraoperative gauge has such a huge size because it was placed on the sclera, but my new marker is so small, placed on the cornea, so it is convenient for the narrow lids or a small eye patient. The axis is set on the dial, and there are 2 arrows to set on the reference mark. It has also the capsulorhexis mark. I'd ask the patient sit up and look straight. May I have the sound on the video? Ask the patient to look straight, and when the beeping sound stops, the device is horizontal. The device is tilted, red or orange light is on. When the device is horizontal, completely horizontal, it stops beeping and green light is on. So with a very simple procedure, I can mark the axis, reference mark, and the 2 arrows are set to these 2 reference marks, and the final axis can be marked on the cornea. It also has the guide for the capsulorhexis 5.5. So along this guide, I can make an ideal size of the capsulorhexis at the center of the lens. The position of and the size of the capsulorhexis is also very important for the toric lens. After removing the cataract, I use a counter-traction technique to implant the lens through sub-2 mm incision, and the proboscis is removed. While removing the proboscis, I use a second instrument to hold the lens, not to rotate so much. Then I'll adjust the axis of the lens to this mark. This is a reference mark, and this is a mark I made using an intraoperative gauge. So the important point to the axis adjustment is when you remove that OVD, you should hold the lens optic with the second instrument. And the important point is to see the incision first before you adjust the axis. First, you should see the incision and then fill up the chamber with a BSS and then rotate the lens to the desired axis. The most of the lens rotation happens on the day of the surgery or the next day. So even though you have the precise surgery, if the patient's eye may move, it may cause the rotation of the lens. So when the patient go back home, I advise the patient not to look outside of the car because it may cause the train nystagmus, the eye may quickly move. It may rotate the lens. And also in case with a high myopic patient with a large capsular bag, I always prophylactically implant a capsular tension ring. For example, the cases with a power lens power of less than 15 diopters, I always implant CTR. To adjust the lens, first see the incision, and then using a hydrodissection cannula, if you push the nucleus downwards, the lens will deform like this. In this situation, you can rotate the lens any directions, not only for the clockwise, but also you can rotate the lens counterclockwise. In this case, the final axis should be here. You will see the mark here. If you push the lens toward its haptic, the lens can be rotated counterclockwise. So injecting the small amount of BSS, I can adjust the lens like this. The important point is to seal the incision first and then rotate the lens. When you found the lens was rotated after the surgery, you should adjust the axis sooner the easier. So in that case, I always use a capsular tension ring. This is the 3-4 days after the surgery, and the axis should be here, but actually the lens was rotated counterclockwise like this. So in this case, I injected some proboscis to open the capsular bag, and then implanted the capsular tension ring into the capsular bag. I use a universal forceps together with the nuclear sustainer, and the CTR can be easily implanted. Then, using a nuclear sustainer, lens is easily rotated. And holding the lens with the sustainer, the proboscis is removed. I had 7 cases among more than 3,000 toric implant to adjust the lens after the surgery. But the important point is that on the day of the surgery, patient not move their eyes so much. Thank you very much.